Hi everyone. Today is Tuesday, March the 18th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and we are officially in the new contract that expires in June. And let's take a look at what happened at the overnight as we stare down the E-mini S&P 500. Notice our hourly opening candlestick formation. We've spent much of the time below it, and the last 3 hours we've had a bit of higher lows in some wicks, and we are sitting at the point of control. That point of control number is 5713. The VWAP of the range is 5692. The high of the opening candlestick is 57.38 and a quarter. The low of the candlestick is 57.30 and a quarter, I believe, and a half. Okay, so that's what we really need to watch in this space. Sorry about that alarm going off there. So here's what we've got. Price action going to be a little bit sticky today. We do have FOMC meetings starting. And the range of the candlestick formations for the first hour is about 8 points. So we'll notice that we dropped out of the range in the pre-market. That triggered the first short into old resistance. That's a big congestion zone before we broke out yesterday. Notice we broke out on much less volume than we came in on. The close really showing that traders are more interested in getting out of the market than getting in at this juncture. So the big picture is that we are in a reflexive bounce. Now, do we think that bounce holds through today? Does it sit sideways because there's so much going on? Tomorrow, hard to say. Let's see what we've got housing starts. Those just came across the wire. We've got industrial production at 9:15. And that really is basically it in terms of, news that's supposed to come across the wire. Now, often traders will try to fill the gap between the old contract and the new, and that is pretty wide, right? There's like 75 to 100 points in the NQ particularly, and so this is something to watch. All right, what's the trade today? Notice the 200 is down on the hourly, the 50 is up on the hourly. We've got cross currents. We are underneath the VWAP, and we have a flat to slightly upward 5 simple moving average. This looks very, very messy to me. My thought is if we are looking for longs that we could potentially hold, we'll need to get up out of the opening range high candle, which is 57.38. Could we come into the VWAP area at 56.92 and begin to bounce? Yes. Do I enjoy this big fat range that we're in? This is a balance zone, I think. The bigger picture is the balance zone. So I am waiting for the longs well below this area of congestion into 56.92. If it stabilizes at the volume point of control at about 5,700, I will anticipate that it is another bullish move into prior congestion. The high of the day yesterday, 57.60. We could easily get back there. Notice that's what we've done over the last couple of days, ended down and then bounced up to the prior high, held it, and then broke out. I anticipate that's the same sort of thing we might be looking for, but the buy zones are a little bit sticky. Maybe 5,700 might make that ideal. Let's go to the NQ, the E-mini NASDAQ futures. Let's see what's going on here. Right? This is yesterday's high of the opening candlestick formation. That number was 19,893.50. That's so weird. All right. And this morning's, let's clone these. And let's clone it again. Also, like the ES, the opening candlestick formation, the high 20,066, the low 20,033. So that's only about 30 points. Notice, as soon as we closed it, we gave it all back, closed underneath the hour. That triggers the short. And we run right into liquidity and the VWAP of the range, also old resistance and support. We bounced off of 19,119, took it all the way back to the low of the opening candle formation, and now we are double bottoming. What could we do? Well, momentum is low. The 200 is down. The 50 is up. We are squeezing in this area, but this great big zone, I think, is the balance region. So I would suspect that coming into the 1 hour high of yesterday's trading formation at 893, excuse me, that might be the first bounce zone that could hold fairly well, because we are ping-ponging in between the 50 and the 200. I do expect more upside pressure today in general, but probably not without a dip, especially since we sit below that 1 hour framework. The general notion is that this is a shorting event, especially since we have these lower highs in play. So my thought is the following. If we cannot hold above 19,893, 19,900, probably not going to be a good place to buy the dip. Step away. Value area low is 19,814. That might give us the next push to the upside. All right, let's take a look at the YM. Now this one held up really pretty nicely yesterday. I actually thought it would fail, but it followed the other indices on the bounce. And of course, the clue was we breached the top of the open candlestick, the 1 hour candlestick formation. So let's take a look at today's. I'm going to clone this price action out. What's the high? 42,264. And then we'll clone it again. And 42,202. So about 63 points wide. It bounces into the range. Notice that halfway spot, how important it is. The first breakdown is not until 8 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Eastern time, actually. And then it fails, gives a shallow bounce, and then actually comes in and tests the volume point of control. That's old resistance. Notice you could have taken 2 short YM, covered one into congestion. As it came back and then lost the 1 hour opening low, you could add back to the short with the key event here at the volume point of control. All right. And this, of course, comes from TrendSpider. You know, I really do love them. All right. So what's happening now? Well, we just rejected that area of the opening range low about 3 hours ago. Here we are coming into the zone. My suspicion is that we head down into 42,000, potentially 41,900. Notice the support zone sitting right around 41,900, and the high of the prior 1 hour candlestick of the prior day is 41,847. Dips are clearly buy zones in this formation. We could see a deeper dip in the YM than in the others because there's so many foreign entities rotating out of the YM, which is how they enter. All right, so let's see what's going on with Bitcoin. Here's the Bitcoin chart. We rejected 85 again. We're down here at 83 as frontline support. Look at how we left that 1 hour candlestick. I mean, wow. That is most definitively a shorting event into the prior 1 hour candlestick formation of the prior day. We bounced off of it, negative VWAP, negative 5 simple moving average, steep momentum. It tells us that the bounces could easily continue to sell. It held it very simply, came into the low of yesterday's opening candlestick formation. That would have been the end of the trade for me. The bounce here really does open another short, playing into the prior day's 1 hour range. If we break 82, what is that number? 82,800. We should get back down to 81,800 and potentially lower. Here is the 1 hour candlestick of several days past, with the top end at 81.95 and the bottom end at 81,100. Very interesting. I think this is in a broad balance area, so I do expect it to come down into 81,900. 81,900. Let's take a look at oil. $68. Okay, let's try that forward contract. See if they've got it right. Yes, 68.18. Oh, very interesting. The forward contract and the current contract sitting right on top of each other. Very, very interesting. Okay, so what have we got? For oil, we can do the same thing. Here is the hourly formation from the 1600 candlestick. We break right out of it here at 9 o'clock. And as we break out of it, that's the trade. So the question is, well, I see it dip down into that edge. What would my stop need to be? It would need to be the bottom of the 1 hour candlestick, right? And so the long has held all the way up into here. Now we're building a new area of balance after the rejection of 68.80. So where could we go? Right back down into here, right? I do not believe the longs are long-lived in this oil chart. So definitely, if it cannot hold 68.08, it's telling us there's potentially another shorting event that easily could move down back into heavy congestion. And so that's what I'm thinking. If per happenstance we can bounce off of 68.11, if you're very bullish on top of the VWAP, right? You're looking and you're saying, hey, I'm going to trade in the direction of the sloping VWAP. It comes into this 68 area, holds it, and bounces. You do have a run into 68.50 and then 68.80. All right, let's take a peek at gold. Running off the rails. Now, as you can see, 3,040 is my target. I was listening to someone on Sprott Money who they run the ETFs that hold the physical instruments most of the time, is what I hear. Let's take a look at what happened in the opening candle formation in gold. Danced around it for about 3 hours and then broke out. Again, 9 o'clock, Asia markets opening up, and it has run all the way up, retesting the VWAP only once, holding old resistance as support. That's 3017. And it is absolutely running like mad. The next one is 3,075, but we've got some volatility events that look like 3,060 if it goes to the top of the band. We'll see, right? Pullbacks clearly buy zones here. I really thought we'd sit in this range just a wee bit longer, but I can't even tell you how many news cycle stories I'm seeing about long gold. It's going to push the charts to the north as late buyers come to the party, right? So you want to be super careful there. Let's go to SPY. All right, you know I like the 8 to 9 candlestick. It's right in the midst of it. I believe this chart starts trading at 4 a.m. Let me clear all these annotations. Right? So here we are sitting in just a big sideways space. If you want to look at that 4 a.m. open, it does a pretty good job of telling us where price action is going to head, right? Notice for the prior day, this day, that's 6 o'clock. Where's the 4 a.m. candle? 4 a.m. candle, also sticky right there, but it really does give us the clue about what happens. I like the 8 to 9 candle because it really tells us what the pressure points are during the trading day, but in no way do you have to say, hey, I'm just not going to look at that. I'm only going to stare at X, Y, or Z. So notice what's happening here. Very sideways. It's very sideways. This is normal. One, we've got news on the horizon. We've got the FOMC beginning. We've got no big picture news on the docket. And what we did was really run up hot and heavy. So my suspicion is that that we move into prior resistance at around 563, maybe 562.80, and then we move back to the upside. Buys or dips, right? Further movement to the top, I would say we have the prior high, that's 569. Value area high at 572. Dips or buys. The 200 on the hourly is way up here at 570.88. The 50 on the hourly is way down here at 560. I would not be surprised to see a retrace of this area into the volume point of control where we try to stage another high. I don't like buying the dip here simply because momentum is down. I have a downward 5. I'm underneath the VWAP, and I have lost the 4-hour opening candlestick low. Everything there tells me that I'm going to be better served on the short at the bounce than trying to buy this dip at this juncture. I might miss the trade because of that. Finally, let's take a look at the Qs. I'm going to do the same thing here and remove all these annotations. Right? Look what's going on here. Very big range. And we're back in it. So, this one's tough. These guys aren't moving quite the way the others are moving. And so this 50% range at 474 is still the floor, right? 50% range of this box. Now, we do have some fairly heavy congestion at 476. Let's measure out some of these candlestick formations. Here's the 4 a.m. open. Let's change that so we know what we're staring down. Right, 4 a.m. open. 4 a.m. low collides with prior support. Now, look at what we did. We immediately broke out of it and went into prior resistance. When you're in a range, don't look for the breakaway. Look to the left for the next line in the sand that says, all right, I need to probably punch the brakes here simply because I need to take some profit and this is sideways. It comes right back in, breaks the low, and immediately recovers, right? That was yesterday. Today, we are really sitting pretty close to the range. Now, we have broken the low, so there is a short triggered there at 481 with the stop at 482.60, right? So could you take, see this downward slope? As it bounces into the high of your 1 hour, because of the downward slope of price, noted by the moving average, because of the VWAP having downward slope, because of momentum having downward slope, it tells us that the bounces are going to give us sell zones. This would be an area to take some profit. Move your stop to somewhere near the low of the opening 4-hour candlestick. And then you can trail it all the way down. Maybe 477 is the next run. I think this is all inventory balance zone, so we easily could come into here before we bounce. All right, listen, that's it for me. Stay alert. We're going to have a pretty crazy day. I think a lot of people might be saying, ooh, this is it. This is the bottom. And they're going to try and buy too early, and they're going to get caught flat-footed. Be careful here. All right? I'll see you on the streams.